For your final course tonight, we're having charred nectarines that have been compressed with the local honey, pawpaw financier, nectarine panna cotta, malted milk crumb, and Italian meringue. There's a few interesting things about this dish, including the dish itself. So first off, this is pawpaw season. It's going to come and go very quickly here, and so we gather about 200 pounds a year and process them very quickly, get them in the freezer and vacuum bags so we can use them the rest of the year, because pawpaw season's so fast, and once those fruit hit the ground, they're buggy and not really usable very quickly. We go out pretty much every other day right now to try to keep up with the harvest and make sure we don't miss out on the opportunity of foraging any of those. The other interesting thing here is there's some hazelnuts, and that may seem odd to many of you, but we have recently been working with a chef where we explored the Hopewell tradition or Hopewell culture. That's thousands of years ago. It's not really the time period that we look at, but it is this region. It's the region along the Mississippi, really a little bit to the east and north, but it certainly does include the St. Louis area, if not a little bit of the Ozarks. And this is one of our ways that we address the question of what was the contribution of the Osage people. I often say that's not my story to tell. I'm not here to appropriate that culture or that story. Certainly not here to make money off of the knowledge and wisdom that's been shared with me by the Osage Nation, because we do work with the Office of Historic Preservation there. But this is one way of doing it in a roundabout way, meaning we look even further back at the people who ultimately influenced the Osage, and in this case, it's what's called the Hopewell tradition. One of the researchers that we worked with for that have said hazelnuts have never before or since been as popular a food item as it was with the Hopewells. Now, that's really interesting because as someone who loves chocolate, especially European chocolate, I think about all the hazelnut and chocolate combinations I've had in my life coming out of Europe and a little bit of the US, and to think that that is dwarfed by the amount of hazelnuts that were eaten by the Hopewell people is just kind of fascinating to me. So anyway, this is a little nod to that history, and here they're just toasted and chopped. The other thing is the dish that this dessert is on. This orange plate was created for us by Susan Bostwick. Susan's a really interesting artist here in the area. She does his contemporary interpretation of historic pottery. And when I approached her and said, well, we're kind of doing the same thing with food, she immediately stepped in and said she has all sorts of research on Ozark clayware, and so what she calls the profile, that shape, if you look from the side of the plate, is authentic to the 1820s in the Ozarks. The color of the glaze is authentic to the period, and I just recently confirmed that when I went to Cane Hill, Arkansas, and looked at their pottery collection, and there was a near identical shade of orange on an original piece from the 1820s and 1830s. Even the swipes on the top, the finger swipes, and some of you have dimples on your plates, those are ways that the artist would signify that they had made this. This is the day before where artists would sign a piece. This was function, it wasn't art. And so they still wanted to show that was theirs, and so that's how they would do it. And so Susan did that on our dishes just to help demonstrate that. And then the really cool thing, I think, is Susan is known to mine her own clay. The clay that she used here is authentic to the Ozarks, more on the eastern side of the Ozarks, and she knew that it was authentic. She got the clay, refined it, and worked it into these dishes. Anyway, so much went into this dish. It's something we're really proud to have. And so I hope you appreciate it and enjoy it. Thank you again so much for coming tonight. Thank you so much for your support and your kind words about our switch in the vaccination policy. All right, have a good night.